Greetings, sisters. I just wanted to thank you quickly for praying for me as I had asked some of you regarding the living situation and not being close to the brethren. Last night, Alex showed up and we had a really sweet time of fellowship. I had been trying to contact her without success. My phone wasn't working right, and so anyways, it was just a really sweet time of fellowship with her. I was reading a book about Gladys Allward last night, and there was a little blip from her journal in the book. Something she said reminded me of you that I wanted to share. She said, "Now God bless you all. Continue in prayer. It is a power. I thought I knew the value of prayer before, but never as now. For when everything seemed against me, He was always there." And I thought about you and about this particular situation, and just in the 24 hours since I've asked for prayer, how much of a sense I have in my heart that He's here and He's in this situation. And I just have such a peace about it, such a submission in my heart about it. And so I thank you for praying, and we'll keep you posted regarding how He answers. I wanted to share something with you that the Lord showed me yesterday that has been so helpful to me and so much at the front of my mind since I read this. I was reading from the scriptures to the children yesterday. We were in Matthew chapter 16 on verse 21. It was verses 21 to 23. I'll just quickly read that from the New King James. "From that time Jesus began to show His disciples that He must go to Jerusalem and suffer many things from the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised the third day. Then Peter took Him aside and began to rebuke Him, saying, 'Far be it from you, Lord, this shall not happen to you.' But He turned and said to Peter, 'Get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men.'" What really stood out to me from that passage, to me personally, as a wife and as a mother, that I wanted to share with other wives and mothers, are those words from Christ that were a rebuke to Peter and ultimately a rebuke to Satan. "You are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of men." I considered as I read it that word mindful. What does that mean? And in its most simple definition, it's what my mind is full of. And it goes with the question, what is my mind full of? As I considered what my mind is full of, the words of Christ from earlier in our study of Matthew came to mind when He exhorted His listeners not to be worried about the things of life, what we're going to wear and what we're going to eat, and I connected that in my mind with what He said here in this verse, the things of men, being mindful of the things of men. And then back again to what He said in the Sermon on the Mount about being focused on the kingdom of God, seeking first the kingdom of God. That seems to connect in my mind with being mindful of the things of God. And the picture that began to come clear in my mind is that when our minds are full of the things of God, when our minds have first bearing down upon them the kingdom of God and the glory of God and the magnification of God, the expansion of the kingdom of God, a desire that's first upon our mind when we wake up that today more souls would be added to the kingdom of God, that the name of God would be known and glorified in the nations, that everything else seems to fall just into its place. There are things about life that are necessary and important, things about life that as wives and mothers we need to be thinking about. We do need to be thinking about keeping house and feeding our family, meeting the educational needs of our children if we're homeschooling, or even if we're not homeschooling, making sure those needs are met. We have desires to be like Proverbs 31 women, dressing ourselves well and dressing our children well and being prepared for snow and providing for our family. But isn't it true that sometimes our minds get full of those things? And then those things which are important and godly, when our minds become full of those things, they become in a way satanic. They become no longer a part of our service to God as wives and mothers, as women, but they become in and of themselves a distraction from the things of God. When Jesus said that he was going to suffer and die and be raised again, Peter, in that moment of having his mind full of worldly things, not wanting Jesus to die, wanting to be with Jesus, wanting to stay with Jesus, wanting Jesus to stay with him, not seeing the bigger plan at all, not seeing the plan of Christ and the Father for redemption and salvation of souls, said, "No, this can't happen." And Jesus said, "Oh no, this is Satan. You are mindful of the things of men right now, and you're not thinking about the kingdom of God." And that is what characterizes who Satan is. His own glory, what he wants for himself, and never the glory of God. I don't know about you, but I don't want any aspect of my walk with Christ as a woman, as a wife, and as a mother to be characterized by my having a mind full of the things of men, full of all the little practical details about how I'm going to do this, that, and the other thing, rather than a mind full of the things of God. And it's become my desire and my prayer since I read this, that God would fill my mind with himself, that every physical need would be met, that somehow all of the needs of my family that I am responsible for, that God would meet those needs through his own resources, through me, and that he would keep my mind at a place where it is full of him and full of the things of God in general. I've found again and again that when my mind is full of the things of God, that somehow the desires that I have for my family, for my husband, and for my children do seem to be met without my having done anything sometimes. I realized recently, in fact I realized just this morning, that I had been burdened for a season for Julia's education because she doesn't seem to enjoy much about homeschool, but she had a real desire to learn how to type on the computer, how to type quickly like me. And I had been trying to find a keyboarding kind of program for her, and everything that I had found was expensive, and I never had liberty to buy anything, and just kind of left it with the Lord and let it go. And as I tried to be having a mind full of the things of God and just not hanging on to any of these concerns and worries, but lifting them in faith to the Lord that He would meet every need, I suddenly realized one day that Julia, she had the laptop open. We were given a laptop by a man at our church, and she had been writing stories on it. She's really interested in writing stories these days, and she's been writing a particular story that's just kind of going on and on and on. And I thought she was writing a story, and I went over, and she had a keyboarding program, and she was typing away using this keyboarding program. She was practicing speed typing. It was a program that was just on that laptop, and somehow she found it and was using it. And I just felt so blessed to see that. And I realized that in full this morning as I was praying. Hey, the Lord met that need. And I thought in that moment, wow, the Lord has met so many of our needs and has answered so many of the desires of my heart for my children, in spite of me and not with my help at all. Things have just happened that they seem to have happened without my planning anything, without my buying anything. They just happened. And that's exactly how salvation has happened in my home. I've just tried so hard to keep the Lord and His kingdom at the front of my mind as a wife and as a mother, and all those other things that I've desired. I've just asked the Lord and left those desires with Him, and they've happened. Somehow they happened. Somehow my children are being saved. Somehow my children are acquiring skills, academic skills, practical skills, and I'm not really doing much of it at all. JC is quite an artist. Some of you have seen some of the things she's doing. I haven't done anything, nothing with her in that regard. The Lord's just given it to her. So I just wanted to encourage you not to have your mind full of the things of men. It's not good, and it doesn't produce any good thing. It's good for us to want to do good things as wives and mothers, but keep all those things that you want. Whether it's things that you want for your home, your household, your homeschooling, your children, things you want to do as a wife, meal plans and cooking, and all of these things are only good if they're kept in their place. If your mind gets full of them, you probably already know from experience that they're not good anymore. But when your mind is full of God and full of His kingdom and full of glorifying Him, all those things just seem to fall into place. All the needs of your household for godliness, all the needs of your household for practical things, they're answered and met by God Himself. Sometimes through you and sometimes not. So my exhortation to you is the same exhortation that I heard the Lord give to me when I was sharing this with my children. Keep your mind full of the kingdom of God, full of the things of God, so that we never hear that rebuke from the Lord in our heart that He gave to Peter. Get thee behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for you are not mindful of the things of God, but of the things of men. Well, that's it. I love you so much, sisters. Oh, my sisters, you're so dear to me. Your faces are in my heart, and I love you and look forward to seeing you again. Look forward to worshiping the Lord with you in His kingdom for all eternity, when all of the snares of this life are past us and we are just in a place of eternal worship and eternal fellowship and joy. May the Lord bless you today. May He make His face just shine on you. Love you.